Hey NFL fans, before we dive into today's hottest stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update from NFL News Now. The Chicago Bears are standing at a crossroads once again, and this time, it's not about the quarterback carousel or the offensive struggles that have defined their identity for decades. This time, the spotlight is on the defense, a unit that was supposed to be the backbone of a new era, and more specifically, on the man who was meant to lead that charge, Montez Sweat. When the Bears traded for Sweat midway through the 2023 season, it felt like the dawn of something big. Chicago had just landed one of the NFL's premier pass rushers, a player who combined size, speed, and relentless energy off the edge. The city fell in love instantly. Sweat's arrival was supposed to mark the start of a defensive resurgence, the kind of move that would set the tone for years to come. But fast forward to the 2025 season, and the conversation has shifted dramatically. Now, fans and analysts alike are asking a question that once seemed unthinkable. Do the Chicago Bears have a Montez Sweat problem? It's a fair question, and one that hits at the heart of the Bears' current defensive dilemma. Through 4 games this season, the Bears' defense ranks near the bottom of the league in almost every major pass rushing category. They're 29th in the NFL in sacks per game, averaging just 1.3, and 27th in quarterback hits, with a meager 4.3 per contest. For a team that invested nearly $100 million into one of the league's supposed elite edge rushers, those numbers are more than disappointing. They're alarming. This isn't the kind of production you expect when you hand a player a 4-year, $98 million extension less than a week after acquiring him. It's not the kind of return that makes you feel confident your franchise is heading in the right direction. And while stats don't always tell the full story, in this case, they're painting a picture that's hard to ignore. To be clear, Montez Sweat isn't playing badly. In fact, according to Pro Football Focus, he has the second highest defensive grade on the entire team and also ranks second in pass rush grade among Bears defenders. So, analytically speaking, he's contributing. But football isn't played on spreadsheets or analytics dashboards. It's played on the field, in moments that define games. And in those moments, Sweat just hasn't been the difference maker he was expected to be. 1 sack in 4 games this year. Just 5.5 sacks over 16 games last season. That's not elite territory. That's not even above average for someone with his paycheck and reputation. And in a league where sack totals often define a pass rusher's legacy, the optics aren't great. So what's going wrong? Why does a player with all the physical tools, the size, the wingspan, the speed off the edge, look so ordinary right now? One veteran pro personnel director, speaking to the Chicago Tribune's Brad Biggs, didn't hold back in his assessment. Last year, you could blame the injuries and everything, he said. It's super interesting to me because he's not impactful. He looks like just a guy, to be honest with you. He's always been a stiffer guy because of his length, but he's been able to play with it. He's not explosive now. After he came over in the trade, I gave him a difference-maker grade. That's the kind of evaluation that makes Bears fans wince. Just a guy. Those are 3 words no team ever wants to hear about their supposed defensive cornerstone. Yet, when you watch Sweat on film, it's hard to argue. The burst isn't there. The finishing ability seems dulled. He's still setting edges and playing disciplined football, but where's the havoc? Where's the chaos off the line that made him so feared in Washington? Of course, it's not all doom and gloom. Another personnel man who spoke to Biggs offered a more optimistic take. Guys like that may be having a down year, and then, boom, 1 play and he's back at it. Speed, burst off the edge, I think all those things are still there. And maybe that's the truth of Montez Sweat's situation. Maybe it's less about regression and more about rhythm. Pass rushers, like shooters in basketball, can be streaky. 1 big play, a strip sack, a game-changing hit, can reignite the confidence and energy that fuels elite production. And for Sweat, that opportunity might be right around the corner. Because if there's ever been a moment where Montez Sweat needs to remind everyone why he's worth the money, it's coming this Monday night. Under the primetime lights, against his former team, the Washington Commanders, and facing their young and electric quarterback, Jaden Daniels. This isn't just another game. It's a statement opportunity. Daniels is a quarterback who thrives on improvisation, extending plays with his legs, and making magic out of chaos. If the Bears' pass rush doesn't contain him, it's going to be a long, frustrating night for Chicago's defense. But if Sweat can disrupt the timing, collapse the pocket, and force Daniels into mistakes, the entire narrative could flip. Suddenly, the whispers about him being just a guy could fade into the background, replaced by the roar of redemption. That's the beauty and the burden of being a pass rusher in the NFL. You can be quiet for weeks, even months, but all it takes is one performance, one dominant night under the lights, to rewrite the story. And right now, the Bears desperately need that kind of night from Sweat. Because let's be honest, Chicago's defense doesn't have another player capable of taking over a game. The interior push has been inconsistent, the secondary has been hit with injuries, and the linebackers, while solid, aren't the type to change outcomes on their own. Sweat is supposed to be that guy, the tone setter, the closer, the one who makes quarterbacks nervous before the ball is even snapped. When he's not doing that, the entire defense feels it. Bears defensive coordinator Dennis Allen seems to understand that balance between accountability and opportunity. All of us, in terms of what we're doing in the passing game, we'd like to get a little bit more, Allen admitted earlier this week. I've got to try to do a better job of putting him in position to where we can give him some opportunities to go get after the passer. And then when we create those opportunities, he has to take advantage of those by winning his one-on-ones. That's a coach's way of saying what fans are already thinking. Sweat needs to finish. The scheme can only do so much. At some point, the guy you paid nearly $100 million to pressure quarterbacks has to, well, pressure quarterbacks. Now, to be fair, context matters. Sweat isn't operating in a vacuum. The Bears' defensive front as a whole hasn't been good enough to take attention off him. Offenses can afford to double-team him, chip him with tight ends, or slide protections his way because nobody else on that line is demanding respect. That makes life a lot harder for any edge rusher, even one as physically gifted as Sweat. But elite players find ways to produce regardless. They beat doubles. They win the matchups that matter most. That's what separates the greats from the good. And right now, Sweat is sitting firmly in the good, not great category, which isn't what Chicago paid for. Still, there's something to be said for patience. Defensive linemen often thrive on chemistry and consistency, two things the Bears have been lacking. Between injuries, rotating players, and constant schematic tweaks, Sweat hasn't exactly had stability around him. Maybe that's part of the reason for his uneven production. Maybe once the group gels, once the stunts start clicking, the blitzes start hitting, and the coverage tightens behind them, Sweat's numbers will spike naturally. It's not impossible. In fact, it's happened before with other elite rushers who needed time to acclimate to a new system. But that window for patience is closing fast, and in a city as passionate and unforgiving as Chicago, fans aren't in the mood to wait much longer. Because Bears fans have seen this movie before. Big-name signings who come in with sky-high expectations, only to fade into the background when the lights shine brightest. The franchise's history is littered with defensive stars who couldn't quite live up to the hype once they put on the navy and orange. The difference this time is that Sweat has already shown he can be that guy. We've seen it in flashes. The question is whether he can sustain it. Whether he can recapture that hunger and explosiveness that made him such a problem for offensive tackles in Washington. Whether he can silence the critics and justify the faith and the financial investment the Bears placed in him. So here we are, heading into Monday Night Football, with a storyline that feels almost cinematic. Montez Sweat versus his old team. A struggling defense trying to find its identity. A fan base desperate for something to believe in. This is more than just a game. It's a test of pride, of potential, and of perseverance. If Sweat rises to the occasion, all of this noise fades away. But if he disappears again, if Jaden Daniels runs wild and the Bears' defense looks toothless once more, the narrative gets louder. The questions grow harsher. And the phrase Montez Sweat problem might start feeling a little too real. For now, though, the ball is in his court, or rather, in his hands. Every time he lines up across from a tackle and stares down the quarterback. The Bears need their difference maker to look like one again. And for Montez Sweat, Monday night might just be the moment that defines his Chicago story. Keep watching as we analyze more details about some rumors. There's a buzz in the NFL world that you simply can't ignore right now, and it revolves around one of the league's most electrifying young quarterbacks, Caleb Williams. You know him, you love him, And if you've been following the drama off the field as closely as the plays on it, you're probably already leaning in for this. Rumors are swirling that Williams, who's no stranger to high expectations and big stages, may be on the verge of making a bold statement about his career trajectory, and it's sending shockwaves through the Bears organization and fans alike. According to whispers from sources close to the situation, Williams recently made a remark that's already fueling the rumor mill. "If I'm going to play little, I'd rather leave." That's right. Those words, simple yet potent, have become the latest talking point, hinting at a potential clash between a star quarterback and a team trying to find its rhythm and identity. It's the kind of statement that can't be ignored, especially from a player who's already shown flashes of brilliance, resilience, and the kind of leadership that teams dream about, but rarely get to nurture at such a young age. The context here is fascinating because it's not just a matter of Williams feeling restless. It's a reflection of the high-pressure environment of professional football, where playing time, development opportunities, and team strategy collide in ways that can make or break careers. Sources say the tension has been simmering for a while. Williams, fresh off an explosive college career and a meteoric rise into professional attention, is a quarterback who thrives on the spotlight. He's the kind of player who doesn't just want to sit on the bench and watch opportunities pass by. He wants to be on the field, making decisions, throwing touchdowns, and showing the kind of performance that validates the hype surrounding him. The Bears, meanwhile, are a team with their own set of priorities, balancing veteran presence with emerging talent, and navigating the complexities of offensive strategy, salary caps, and locker room dynamics. That combination has led to whispers that Williams might feel underutilized, a scenario that fuels the current rumor. Is this a player ready to push back against the system, or a team underestimating the urgency of nurturing raw talent? Adding fuel to the fire, insiders hint that Williams' quote isn't just empty words. It's a reflection of his growing impatience with the status quo. The quarterback's camp reportedly made it clear that he's evaluating his options, and that message seems directed squarely at decision-makers in the Bears' hierarchy. It's a delicate balance. On one hand, Williams wants to play and prove himself immediately. On the other, the team wants to manage his integration without disrupting cohesion or the leadership structure that's been carefully built. The friction here is subtle but electric, and the kind of narrative that keeps fans glued to their screens. Imagine the locker room conversations, the meetings behind closed doors, the strategic considerations that suddenly gain a new layer of complexity. For a team like the Bears, already navigating the pressures of fan expectations and media scrutiny, a star quarterback questioning his role is both an opportunity and a challenge, a double-edged sword that could redefine the trajectory of the franchise. And then there's the human side of the story, which is often overlooked in these rumors. Caleb Williams is not just a quarterback. He's a young man with ambitions, dreams, and a drive that borders on relentless. Sources say that in conversations with his inner circle, Williams has expressed frustration not only with playing time, but with the pace at which he feels his potential is being realized. He's someone who wants to feel indispensable, to have the freedom to make plays that change games, to command respect not through tenure, but through performance. That sentiment resonates in his reported statement, and it's precisely what makes this rumor so potent. Fans and analysts alike are dissecting every word, speculating about potential trades, future starting opportunities, and the broader implications for the Bears' strategy. Could this be the start of a full-scale negotiation, or is it a calculated move to signal seriousness without triggering immediate action? The ambiguity is what keeps the rumor alive and buzzing across social media platforms, podcasts, and sports shows alike. The timing of this story adds yet another layer of intrigue. The NFL offseason is notoriously quiet when it comes to game day drama, but that doesn't mean it's free from strategic tension. In fact, it's precisely this quiet period that allows whispers like Williams to gain traction. Rumors of dissatisfaction, potential departures, or hidden negotiations thrive when there's room for speculation, and every statement is magnified under the lens of fan scrutiny. Williams' bold words, in that context, aren't just an expression of frustration. They're a calculated ripple, one that could set off a chain reaction. Teammates, coaches, and front office executives are reportedly monitoring the situation closely, evaluating not only the immediate impact on roster decisions, but the long-term narrative surrounding team culture and quarterback leadership. If Williams were to follow through on his implication of leaving if underutilized, the league could be looking at one of the most high-profile transitions in recent memory, and every team in the league would be recalibrating their strategy in response. Speculation aside, insiders emphasize that this isn't an impulsive reaction from Williams. The quarterback is widely regarded as a thoughtful player who understands the stakes of professional football. His reported stance is less about rebellion and more about setting expectations, letting the organization know that his ambition and talent demand an environment where he can thrive. Analysts are drawing parallels to other high-profile quarterback situations where talent collided with team politics, resulting in moves that reshaped careers and franchises alike. Whether the Bears choose to meet his expectations or risk losing a future superstar, this rumor underscores a key point. In the NFL, talent retention isn't just about contracts. It's about aligning opportunity, trust, and vision. Williams' message, blunt and unfiltered, serves as both a warning and a promise, signaling that he will not be a passive participant in his career trajectory. Meanwhile, the fan base is electric, as you might expect. Social media has exploded with theories, memes, and heated debates over what Williams' statement really means for the Bears. Some see it as a necessary wake-up call for a team that needs to rethink its offensive strategy, while others worry it could destabilize the locker room, creating tension that might affect team cohesion. Every podcast, every sports analyst panel, and every fan forum seems to be dissecting his words, wondering whether this is the beginning of a trade saga, a behind-the-scenes showdown, or merely the natural frustration of a young quarterback eager to seize his moment. And the beauty of a rumor like this is that it feeds itself. Every speculation becomes a piece of the puzzle, every reaction a signal that the narrative is alive and evolving. Adding yet another twist to this saga, sources hint that Williams' camp has been quietly exploring alternatives, keeping lines of communication open with other teams in case the situation with the Bears doesn't evolve favorably. While nothing is concrete, the very fact that possibilities are being discussed adds layers to the speculation, and it's the kind of drama that keeps NFL fans awake at night. It's the tension between loyalty and ambition, between patience and opportunity, and it's a storyline that could redefine the quarterback landscape if it gains traction. Imagine the strategic chessboard behind the scenes, teams weighing whether to make an aggressive move, front offices calculating risk versus reward, and a young star quarterback at the center of it all, ready to assert his value and chart his path forward. In conclusion, or rather, in continuation, because this is far from over, what we're seeing with Caleb Williams is more than a simple statement about playing time. It's a microcosm of the pressures, ambitions, and calculated risks that define professional sports at the highest level. The phrase, "If I'm going to play little, I'd rather leave," has ignited a rumor machine that touches on every aspect of NFL drama: player agency, team strategy, fan speculation, and media amplification. For the Bears, it's a moment of reckoning. For Williams, it's a declaration of intent. For fans, it's the kind of tantalizing story that keeps discussions alive long after the games are over. And as the offseason unfolds, all eyes will remain on this quarterback, waiting to see whether the next chapter in his career will be written in Chicago, elsewhere, or in a narrative that no one could have predicted. One thing is certain: the NFL rumor mill never sleeps, and Caleb Williams has just ensured that his story will dominate the headlines for weeks to come. Whether you're a diehard Bears fan or simply someone who loves the thrill of a quarterback's rise, the drama behind the scenes, and the tantalizing uncertainty that makes sports endlessly compelling. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and share it with your fellow NFL fans. Stay tuned for more updates, only here on NFL News Now.